Hi, Rachel Starr. This is Rachel Starr with us, Anthony Morgan or Tony Morgan. My, I don't know. I was trying to record something before and it completely stopped recording, and then I couldn't retrieve anything I've said. Um, well, I wanted to talk about me going through some things. I lived in North Carolina in 2006, and I felt like I was chased out of there by, feeling and emotion and stuff like that. I don't really know what's going on with me. I just know that you know I've been hearing voices ever since the day I was born. I just never really acknowledged them because they weren't really conscious to me. In North Carolina, though, I remember they came to me. They came to me, just like came to me. I was, I was pretty much shocked. Um, I didn't know what was going on. They were quite negative. They weren't having a conversation with me. They weren't talking directly to me, but they were making sure that their presence was known. Um, I'm trying to remember all the things I said before. You said when you hear voices, it's not like they're talking to you. So I was wondering if maybe we experience similar things. Um, in North Carolina, though, I remember there was around the president election. I was at work. I used to work for Vonage, the phone company, and I felt something drill into the back of my head, somewhere in the middle here, and I was so disturbed I didn't know what to do. I was sitting there at work and it felt like I heard a drill, and then it was getting closer to me, and then it touched the back of my head, and I didn't want it to happen. So I was kind of like fighting it somehow mentally, and then when I let go, when I stopped fighting momentarily, it just zoomed and made contact with my head, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was freaking out. My head was kind of shaking, trembling actually. and then, uh, and then it just kept going deeper, 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 deeper into the back of my head. It probably reached like from the back of my head. It probably about this distance. So I'd say about that much into the back of my head, and I don't quite understand it. Um, I remember I was watching the president election. The current president now, he was doing a speech, and he said, he was talking, but he kept, like pitching, like something was happening to him, but he didn't know what. So he just trying to regain focus. And then he had to pause. It seemed like he had to pause, and he said, "It feels like there's 1,000 dumb nuts drilling in the back of my head." And when he said that, I was like, "Whoa, that's what was happening to me." So I found it very odd that he said that, and I was feeling the same thing too. So I was wondering maybe if me and him were the only ones that felt that happen to us. I don't think, though, considering that he would never let go of fighting it, I don't think that they actually drilled into the back of his head like how they did me. Um, but anyway, that's a very far-fetched conversation. Um, so yeah, I remember going home one day, and sitting down in my love seat, watching TV, and TV was to my left, and behind me was my sliding door window because it's a condo. So you have the sliding door, and there's two of them. So sliding door here, and another one on to the right of it. And my love seat is in front of the window to the right, the sliding door to the right. And I was sitting there, and it felt like something just was coming towards me from behind me, which would be outside. And then it came into the house to the back of my head, and then it attacked my head. At that moment, I felt my brain start to expand, but in sections. Like if you were to take the brain and you cut it this way, and then you take the middle and you cut it that way, my brain starts to expand outwards away from each segment. And then after a few violent, because it was like huge pulsations of energy, it was like, and then after a few of that, it came back together, but then started to shrink. I was like, oh my god, what's going on with me? I didn't know what the heck was going on, so I didn't know what to do. So I was just like zoned out. I was like, yeah, my TV's on, but I'm not paying attention to it. And then, I was, I then felt like something was over my brain. Like, like somebody encased my brain in a plastic bag and then they're sucking the air out of the bag, so it was getting tighter and tighter around my brain. But then whatever it was started to harden, and I panicked. I started squeezing my head. I was like, "What's going on?" But then I realized when I let go of squeezing my head, it sounded like cellophane paper crumpling. Like it was breaking and relieving my brain again. So I was like, "Oh wow, this is what it's supposed to be doing," So cellophane paper is like, your cigarette box, the little plastic around the cigarette box. You take that off and you start crumpling. It sounds like that. Um, so, every time it started to harden, I would squeeze my head, but then it would get so hard and it would really complicate my function. I would panic and start banging my head or something, like, trying to get this out, pushing, trying to get it out, and it won't go out. And I don't know what was going on. So, I gave up. And then after giving up, I, uh, I kind of just felt like there's nothing I can do. It keeps going. So I would just sit there for a while and I just try to watch TV and it keeps going and I don't know why and it keeps going and I don't know why and it keeps going and I'm like, gosh, what's going on? And then it's like a test of my nerves because it would like I feel my body get more and more anxious and then I don't know what's going on, so I'm getting nervous. And then I would just explode in this rage against myself, like what's going on, trying to stop this feeling. To the point, the worst thing that I did was I took my love seat and I put it on top of my head. I laid down on the floor and put it on top of the side of my head and tried to squeeze it down on top of my head. And and then when I took it off, I felt this huge relief, and I was like, oh, thank God. So I'd lay there on the floor for a while in the dark, TV's off, don't know why, and I just try to relax, I almost fell asleep on the floor after I put the couch off and so the love seat. And it was really tough for me. Um, I felt like I was ran out of North Carolina because these voices were so negative to me, and I just couldn't take it. I was like, why are they being negative? I was asking all these questions I wasn't getting answers to. And I remember I came home from work from Vonage, and I was standing in front of the mirror, and I was watching my facial features change ever so slightly everywhere, everywhere. And I was like, what's going on? I mean, my whole face was changing, and I felt this weird sensation that I hated myself. I was saying I hate my face. And I was doing this. I was trying to stop the faces from coming up from behind my skin, but I couldn't stop it. So I remember I panicked, and I'm in New York now. I panicked and I drove all the way to New York. I had no money. It was basically a one-way ticket, and I drove all the way to New York. I came to my mom's house, and I realized that she was going through things. So I was like, wait a minute, it's not just me, you know? Because my mom looked like she was going through withdrawal on something. Her husband was acting weird. He was speaking so weird. He was just like, I don't know what the fuck he was saying. It was so weird, you know, and all I wanted to do was find peace. And I couldn't find it anywhere, wherever I went, whoever I spoke to. And that was boldly right there in front of my face that no one was insane. Everyone was going through something. So when I chose to trust, to confide in my mom, you know, my family, they didn't want to hear it. You know, they didn't give me any advice. There's no advice anyway. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you another message. Hopefully you get this one. Bye.